everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the first half of October and the new moon that we have in Libra coming up on the 6th. Now, October is going to be an incredibly powerful month, particularly towards the second half of the month. The energy builds, if that's possible. That will be, I think, very important for the US as well, but more of that in the next video. But I do see October as pivotal. And whatever develops in October will really set us up for 2022. So super important. The pace is picking up. Many of us can feel it, and it really surged, I think, at the Libra equinox. I'm filming this just before the Libra equinox, but already the energy is so strong. People are having difficulty sleeping, myself included. I'm kind of wired to the mains. People are talking about headaches and migraines because the energy is coming in so powerfully and so fast, because we're in this period of accelerated ascension. This is what we're moving into. The next 6 months, this is really the beginning of 6 months of crescendo of events, crescendo of energy and events. So it's going to be intense and it's going to be fast moving. And the fast moving has really started already, but particularly because we've got a change in direction of several important planets that I'm going to be talking about. So there is a huge fork in the road. I've been talking about this for 4 years now, since 2017, and the divergence of those tracks is getting wider by the day. And so we have always been in our own individual reality, but our individual realities are now more different, more diverse than they have ever been. And they're two kind of broad trajectories of collective timeline that we're looking at here. So choose wisely and be very aware of your focus, where you're putting your attention. It's so easy to slip back to the drama and the 3D. And I've had particular personal circumstances in the last few months that have kind of tried to drive me back to the 3D. And it's so easy to get caught up in all those anxieties, whereas I've had to be really tough with myself in terms of walking my talk. I generally always walk my talk, all the things I share with you, but boy, have I had to be strict with myself. So choose wisely and be very conscious of where you're putting your focus and attention. So the month starts strongly right from the kind of get-go, from the 1st of October, because we have Mercury in an exact by degree T-square to Eris and Pluto. Mercury is at 2431, in fact, of Libra. And it is opposing Eris in Aries, 24 of Aries, and squaring Pluto, 24 of Capricorn. So this is again highlighting this long-running Eris-Pluto square that we've had all through 2020, all through 2021. And with Mercury in Libra, this is potentially bringing up more angry words, but also issues around the law. We are in Libra season in October. And remember that the two signs that are linked to the law are Libra, the scales of justice, and also Sagittarius, the truth. And Venus moves into Sagittarius on the 7th of October. So I think this is a very big month for potential legalities. There are hundreds of cases going on all over the world, but they may come to the fore in a bigger way this month. I wouldn't dare say they'd be on mainstream media, but they may become more prominent. So that T-square is very strong. However, it's also important to say, because this is about kind of angry words on the street for fairness and justice and equality. And Eris is always the street fighter, as you know. She's very feisty. But remember, she's also the goddess of awakening, female awakening. And she's the patron saint of chaotic creation, I discovered I was so excited about. So there is purpose in this. It isn't just mayhem for the sake of mayhem. It is purposeful to get us to a higher place. But it is going to be gritty, and it is going to be loud, I think. And I want to say, through these next 6 months, the gritty is going to get grittier, the tough is going to get tougher, and the good is going to get way better, way better. And I'll talk a little more about that as we move through. So this square between Eris and Pluto. Just before I get there, actually, I want to come back to the 1st of October, because I've talked about Mercury in that T-square. Very interestingly, with Mercury being at 2431 of Libra, she is exactly conjunct the fixed star Arcturus. And Mercury was conjunct the fixed star Arcturus at the Libra equinox, and will also be on the 1st of November. So it's a kind of 3-hit conjunction. And Arcturus, and thank you to Stephanie Austin, who reminded me of this, Edgar Casey had talked about Arcturus as the highest civilization in the galaxy. And Nick Forenza, astrologer, talks about the symbolism of Arcturus being to help to guide souls to their evolutionary fulfillment. So this is beautiful. This is very high level. And whenever planets are exactly aligned to these points in the heavens, these fixed stars, it's like a hotline to that particular symbolism. So here we can get downloads of higher galactic knowledge. It's that kind of a feeling where we're plugging back into the galaxy in a bigger way, because you probably know that the Earth has been offline for a long time. It's now stepping back into its role in the galaxy. We're all becoming galactic citizens in a bigger way. Now, the intensity is a word I'm going to be using an awful lot in the next 6 months, but the intensity of this Eris-Pluto square has been great, I think. Very easy to see. To remind you, Eris tends to be on the street demanding fairness, equality, everybody needing to be heard, nobody excluded in society, demanding that, but running up in the square against top-down government rules, regulations, authorities, etc., particularly top-down Capricorn organizations, governments. It has recently been in its 4th exact square, and now they come to their 5th and final exact square, and that's going to be on the 9th of October. Now, we won't just feel it on the 9th, we're feeling it over this entire period, because Eris and Pluto are barely moving, hovering around that 24-degree point. And by the way, if you have anything 24 to 26 degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, are you going to be feeling intensity in your life in some area? You really are. So this is the 5th and last exact square. So it's a peak. It's a peak in this struggle. It's not necessarily the final peak, because I'm looking down the road to the 3rd and final square of Saturn and Uranus on the 24th of December, Christmas Eve. That's going to be interesting. I think there'll be more attempted control coming in, or just before Christmas, around then. But both of these big dominant squares for this year are reaching their exactitude. Eris Pluto, 9th of October, Saturn Uranus, 24th of December. So it's kind of crunch time. It's like being squeezed. This is vice-like activity, but there's also awakening activity at the same time. So we're going to be squeezed under, or we're going to be popped out to something entirely different. And these two big squares, as I've spoken in the past, have similar themes, really. It's control versus freedom. It's new versus old. Those are and you can find in my previous videos when I spoke in more detail about this. So this is big. Now, both of those squares continue through 2022, but they are no longer exact to the degree and minute. They're looser. Saturn-Uranus square becomes exact to the degree in October 22, but they're not, again, exact to the degree and minute. And in astrology, it's when planetary aspects become exact that they are at their most potent and their most visible in the world. So it's a big time, very big time, these next few months. So we have a series of planets also moving direct, changing direction, because for the last few months we've had Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and more recently Mercury, all moving retrograde. So there's been a kind of introspective or assimilating process, integrating process of what the previous few months in the year have really meant to us individually and collectively. But now there's a very significant shift of direction, because within 2 weeks, 4 planets change direction. And therefore, that will create the pace change. So on the 6th of October, and this is happening just 3 days before that exact Eris Pluto square, Pluto becomes stationary direct at 24 degrees of Libra. Now, when these big, slow-moving planets change direction, it's like a tanker almost, moving incredibly slowly, stopping, and then very gradually moving on, that drilling down in a very concentrated way. So round about the 6th, but equally, this will span a good week to either side. We'll be feeling this. Really, the first half of October will feel very strong in terms of this Pluto-Eris energy. So we may be feeling bigger issues or seeing bigger issues in the world around power and control and intensity, but also transformation, remember. Pluto is the planet of spiritual transformation. Then on the 10th of the month, we have Saturn moving stationary direct. So Pluto's moved stationary direct on the 6th. Saturn moves stationary direct at 6 degrees 52 of Aquarius on the 10th. So this could be some kind of reality check. Saturn represents very contracting energy, so there may be more about rules and regulations and for your own safety, and you've got to have social responsibility and that kind of thing. But just 1 week later, on the 17th of the month, Jupiter moves stationary direct at 22 degrees of Aquarius. And if Saturn is contraction, Jupiter is expansion. So just a week later, we have this very different energy that's very much magnified, that's about future visions. It's visionary. It's bigger and better future horizons. It's quite linked to the galactic because it's to do with long distance travel. It's about freedom. It's about human rights. So there will be quite a surge around the 17th on those issues. And by the way, that's the same day that the Sun comes into a T-square with Eris and Pluto. So boy, this is very strong astrology. And then the next day, on the 18th, we have Mercury moving direct at 10 degrees of Libra. But these are 4 of those planets that are now moving direct. And I very much think over that 2-week period, we're going to start to feel a change of pace, a change of momentum, and also clarity. I think we're going to have greater clarity as we have this sort of acceleration of planetary motion. So that's going to be very interesting to see too. And then on the 6th of October at 4:05 a.m. Pacific and 12:05 lunchtime, 12:05 p.m. UK time, we have the new moon at 13 degrees, 24 minutes of Libra. So see where that falls in your chart, and don't forget to set a new intention for what new seed you want to plant in your life, what you want to manifest, very much determined by the house area where it's falling in your chart. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can download a free birth chart from my website. And if you go to this link below, you can buy a 2-part video series from my store that you can watch forever with every update I ever do that will help you to understand the meaning for these updates in your life, your chart, and that will be the beginning of your astrological journey. So well worth doing. Every lunation so far this year has been powerful, and this is no exception, because we have the Sun and Moon at 1324 of Libra conjunct Mars at 13, I think it's 58, yes, 1358 of Libra. So they're within really half a degree of exactitude. So Sun, Moon, Mars. Now, Mars, and I mentioned this in the last video, Mars has to act, Mars has to fight, Mars has to do. But in Libra, because it's opposite its normal sign of rulership, it needs to fight, it needs to act for others. It needs to act for truth, it needs to act for justice, to fight for justice. So that's very strong. Mercury, by the way, is also conjunct Mars. here as well at 20 degrees of Libra. It's wide, but it's operational. So again, 4 planets in Libra are about fighting for justice, in my view, and a new start of some kind, new moon around justice. By November, we'll have moved into Scorpio energy. That will be different. So this is the big time around fairness, equality, etc. What is also interesting here is that the Sun, Moon, and Mars are exactly by degree quincunx Uranus at 13 degrees of Taurus. Now, yes, Taurus and Libra are both ruled by Venus, so you think they should be very peaceful signs, but remember, Libra is a cardinal sign, so it's action-oriented. And here, with Mars and Uranus so highlighted, these are speedy planets, urgent. And Uranus is, of course, to do with the unexpected, shocks, surprises, earthquakes of all kinds. So we should expect the unexpected here. We should expect some surprises, some things coming out of the blue. We should expect some truths, I think. Uranus is truth, higher truth as well, coming out of the blue to get us to a higher level of being. So that's a very strong aspect here. Mercury is very highlighted as well, because it isn't just in that conjunction to Mars, it's also in a very tight quincunx to Neptune. So this Neptune can be linked to the media or disinformation. So this could be more truths coming to the fore, because the fog is now clearing, in my view, with these planets moving direct. So that's going to be quite interesting. And Mercury is also still in this T-square to Eris and Pluto. Now, another important aspect we have at this new moon is that the Sun, Moon, and Mars are opposite or opposing Chiron at 10 degrees of Aries. So Chiron is about health and healing, all that kind of thing. And so again, there's this sense of legalities or justice around issues of health and healing. That's very strong. What's also, I think, helpful to remember about Chiron moving through Aries, if we look back to when Chiron has about a 51, 52-year orbit, and if we look back to when it last entered Aries, that was in April 1968. And Aries as a sign is about I am, I exist. And so there's a strong sense of needing to be heard here. Because if you lived through 1968 and remember what was happening then, it was really a lot of protests peaking. I mean, 1968 is known as a kind of year of revolution, massive student sit-ins across the world. New York, London, Paris were particularly strong for that. A lot of strikes, a lot of striker sit-ins as well. The protests against the Vietnam War were peaking in 1968, or civil rights movements were still going on very strongly. So it was I need to be heard. I matter, Aries. I count. I need to be heard. And I need any kind of woundedness or sickness or whatever being attended to, being acknowledged and being dealt with. And Eris in Aries is so similar to this. You know, the only goddess who wasn't invited to the wedding at Mount Olympus. She was excluded, so that's why she fights for anyone marginalized and on the periphery. So really complex energy and very interesting energy at this new moon. And I really want to say here that we're moving towards building new social structures. If you just look at the symbolism of Saturn in Aquarius alone, that is about building new social structures for the future. The square from Uranus to Saturn emphasizes that even more. So as the old is crumbling, I would really say don't extend the life support. Be super aware of where you're putting your focus for the future. Be super hyper conscious and aware, because we have a very clear choice here. You know, Libra is about choice. It's about do I do this or do I do that? It's about the scales. Do I go this way? Do I go that way? And Libra is always trying to balance those. You know, if that's okay with you, that's okay with me. If that makes you happy, that makes me happy. It's trying to balance. But this is a time of strong yang energy where we have to choose very consciously and definitively which way we're going to go. And as I say, the energy coming in at these times is immense. I mean, it was immense. It's immense at the Libra equinox. I'm just, as I say, filming this just a couple of days before the equinox. The energy is huge. People are having a lot of trouble sleeping, myself included. I'm just wired to the mains. Normally I sleep very well. People are having headaches, migraines. They can feel the energy not only very strongly, but how fast it's coming in. Because our ascension is being accelerated. We are being taught to become our light bodies. That's what this is about. We are becoming our light bodies. And it's all about how much light can we hold in our bodies. And that's down to our level of frequency. And I also want to say, because people sometimes say, well, you know, if you talk about high frequency, that sounds as if you've got to be excited all the time. Well, excitement is certainly an expression of high frequency. So is inspiration or anticipation of something wonderful. They're all expressions of high frequency, but so is peace. So is calm. And Libra is very much about peace. So in all of this cardinal yang, strong aspect, squares, oppositions, energy, find your peace, find your bliss. And one way I do this pretty much every day, several times a day if I can, ideally sitting on the grass on the earth if you get a chance, but even wherever you are, close your eyes and drop into the belly breath, just like a baby breathes. So you're not pushing anything, you're not forcing anything. The breath is breathing you. The breath is breathing you, because that's what's happening all the time, you know, our autonomic nervous system. So close your eyes, just have no thoughts, just drop into I am the breath. Feel it, just feel the breath, and gradually just feel it softening, the breath softening, and perhaps deepening. And perhaps as you know, a minute or so goes by, you might slightly pause at the end of each inhale and exhale. And within a minute, no time at all, you are changing all the biomarkers in your blood. You are dropping into peace and bliss. And that equally is high frequency. And Libra is all about peace. So fabulous thing to do for free wherever you are. Really recommend that. And the more you do it, that becomes your kind of default frequency. Just like butter melting in the sun, I can go there in seconds. You know, it's just boom. And that is a great skill to develop because it's just so easy to. Now, as we move forwards, helping humanity is going to be a very big Aquarian theme. How can we help humanity? And I've mentioned several times in recent videos that I'm very aware of groups and people across the world, this is international, who are getting into community. They're getting into collaboration, because we might think in these extreme times, well, what can I do on my own? But if you get together in a group, you know, one person can do this and you can do that, and well, we could get together and do something, you know, bigger and better to help other people. It is truly inspiring. And the wealth and richness of experience and knowledge and talent is quite frankly incredible. So this is happening, and these communities, so this isn't pie in the sky, this isn't Walt Disney at some, you know, 2035 date. This is right now. It's happening right now. And what's really exciting about it is these communities of like-minded people are forming these hubs of light that are forming a grid, because they're all in communication or starting to come into communication with bigger networks of other people doing something similar so they can share ideas. So it's forming a kind of energetic architectural structure for New Earth. We are in this right now. We are building New Earth today. And if you haven't connected to any like-minded group as yet, set that as an intention. I am already easily finding my family of frequency. I'm already easily finding my family of frequency. So present tense, and then step into that energy as if it's already happened. So very important in these times to stay very positive. I've often said recently, and I must try and do a video on it, but somebody will have to film it for me because everything becomes kind of horizontal, not vertical. But I've been mentioning that when I dowse and measuring other people's frequency who give me permission for that, you always have to have permission to enter someone else's energy field. Some of them are jumping hundreds of hertz in a week. Hundreds of hertz in a week. It's just extraordinary. And when I kind of check on the frequency for humanity, that's kind of off the chart. And what was so funny in the last week, when I did a short Q&A with Braca Goldsmith, I was asking the Palladians some questions, and you can see that on Braca Goldsmith's channel. I'll try and remember to put the link below. But one of the questions I asked the Palladians was about this, is the frequency of humanity expanding? And the answer was kind of, yes, sort of exponential. It's accelerating so fast. And then I was listening to Zacharia, who I've listened to for many years. He's an aspect of an Ascended Master called Djwal Khul. I'll put the Patreon link below, because once a month he has several offerings in a month, but he's channeled through the very gifted Janet Trelawney. And there's several offerings. This was an hour-long deep dive, and Zach happened to say via Janet that the frequency for humanity, the acceleration of the frequency, is off the chart. Literally off the chart is what I'm seeing. I can't get a calibration. I have to recalibrate all my measurements to kind of start from a higher level. So, this is very exciting, but you've got to have that as your focus. You've got to have that as a focus, because if you've got that as your focus, then magic really does start to happen. And again, this isn't pie in the sky. I literally know people who are creating the impossible in life, the miraculous in life, simply through working with their energy and their intention. So it's a very tough period. It's probably at the 3D level, the toughest period we have ever lived through in our lives collectively. But it is also the most exciting period in terms of our evolutionary development, our jumps into the light body, let's call it. And there's a particular phrase that Zach encouraged us to stay in this magic zone. And I'm going to put my glasses on to make sure I get this right. But he encouraged us to say, creation is fueled by magic, and I am a magical being of creation. And if you say that through your day, if you say that several times a day, you really will start to notice the little kind of pops, little bubbles of magic that are happening through your day, and increasingly they become your reality. So I've covered a huge amount there. If you'd like more information about my books, my teaching videos, my newsletter is also on the website now. Website, really slow, being upgraded, won't be upgraded and redesigned totally, actually, I hope by the end of October, but the website guys are working on that. And the next video about the full moon in Aries is enormous. It is, I barely have vocabulary, so that is going to be one of the major peaks, I think, in this wild white water rafting few months that we are going to be going through to create New Earth. I hope that's helped you. God bless, and bye for now.